You rely on AI every day for answers, summaries, directions, sometimes decisions. But there's a failure mode, where the system doesn't say, "I don't know." It manufactures a clean, convincing reality that isn't a normal error. It's a synthetic story presented as truth. This is digital ghosts, the strange phenomenon of AI hallucinations in modern systems. In the next 10 minutes, what hallucinations are, why they happen at a systems level, how they appear in text, images, and video, why they spread so easily, and what practical guardrails actually reduce them in real workflows. In AI, a hallucination is output that looks coherent but is not reliably grounded in real evidence. That can mean a statement that's simply false, a claim that's unverifiable, a citation that doesn't exist, or a chain of reasoning built on invented details. It's important to separate a few concepts. 1. A model can be wrong because it's outdated. That's a knowledge gap. A model can be wrong because the prompt is ambiguous. That's a misinterpretation. 3. A model can be wrong because it invents specifics to fill gaps while sounding confident. That's the classic hallucination pattern people worry about. Also, hallucination is not the same as deception. These systems do not decide to lie in a human sense. Most of the time, they're doing something more mechanical, producing text that fits the prompt and fits patterns they've learned, whether or not the content is grounded. And that difference, mechanical generation versus truth-seeking, is why hallucinations can feel like digital ghosts. They are not random noise. They are plausible constructions with a human-readable shape. To understand hallucinations, remove the mystique. Large language models generate text by predicting what comes next, token by token, based on patterns learned during training. This training compresses huge amounts of text into a statistical model of what tends to follow what. That's powerful. It produces fluency, style control, and the ability to explain and summarize. But it also means the model's default behavior is continuation, not verification. If you ask for a list of studies, the model knows the format of studies: authors, years, journals, titles. It can generate something that looks perfectly academic because it learned the structure. If the model doesn't have the specific papers in memory, it may still produce paper-shaped text. It can generate a realistic-sounding citation that is not tied to a real document. This is why hallucinations often have a specific signature. The writing is well-formed, the logic flows, the details are specific, and the confidence tone is high. Those traits normally signal reliability in human communication. In generative AI, they can be an illusion. Another key factor is probabilistic sampling. Many systems don't always output the single most likely next token. They sample from a distribution. Sampling helps creativity and avoids repetitive, bland text, but it increases variation and can increase drift. If you push a model toward longer, more detailed answers, you increase the number of opportunities for invented specifics to appear. There's also an incentive problem in many deployments. People prefer answers over refusals. If a system is penalized for uncertainty, it learns to avoid saying, "I don't know," and to produce something, anything, that looks helpful. Put those together, and you get a predictable failure mode. Prompt asks for precise facts. Model lacks reliable grounding. System still outputs fluent text. Specificity appears. Verification is absent. The ghost slips in. Hallucinations aren't one thing. In practice, they cluster into a few types: fabricated sources, invented citations, non-existent court cases, fake DOI numbers, made-up quotes attributed to real people. This is dangerous because the output carries the shape of evidence. Confident wrong specifics. The model gives a real-looking answer but invents an exact date, statistic, location, or mechanism. Even if 80% is broadly right, the specific invented piece can ruin the whole result. Attribute errors. True statement, wrong attribution. The right idea assigned to the wrong person, wrong organization, wrong country, wrong year. These are hard to detect because they feel correct. Overgeneralization dressed as fact. The model turns a general pattern into a universal rule. In technical topics, this appears as absolute claims without scope conditions. Broken chains of reasoning. Step-by-step explanations where intermediate steps are invented, or the logic is internally consistent but not tied to real-world constraints. And then there's a special class that matters for modern workflows. Type 6. Tool and data confusion. A model describes what a tool output would show without actually running the tool, or it claims it accessed a file or database when it didn't. This can happen when the interface makes it feel like the system is integrated, but the model's output is still a generated guess. This taxonomy matters because mitigation depends on type. A system that reduces fabricated citations may still produce confident wrong specifics. A system that is good at general explanations may still fail on exact numbers. Hallucinations are harmless when they generate a weird sentence in casual chat. They become serious when the output is treated as sourced reality. In legal settings, hallucinated citations can enter real documents. There have been documented court incidents where filings included AI-generated case citations that did not exist, leading to sanctions and public cautionary guidance. The takeaway isn't lawyers made a mistake. The takeaway is, hallucinations can mimic professional formatting well enough to pass casual review. In medicine and health, hallucinations can sound clinically literate. The language of healthcare is formulaic. Symptoms, differentials, contraindications, dosing units. A model can produce something that resembles a clinical explanation without being correct. If a user treats it like medical advice, the risk is obvious. In engineering and safety, the cost can be operational. An invented parameter, a wrong constraint, a fake standard reference, a fabricated compatibility claim, these cause downstream failures, wasted build time, bad procurement decisions, or flawed analysis. In business, hallucinations can poison decision documents quietly. A market-size number that's invented, a competitor feature that's fictional, a customer quote that never happened. Because the text reads cleanly, it gets pasted into decks, repeated in meetings, and laundered into credibility through repetition. In public discourse, hallucinations accelerate misinformation in a specific way. They produce content that is shareable. A neat paragraph is easier to spread than a careful primary source. A screenshot travels faster than a correction. And once a hallucinated claim is repeated, people start citing the repetition. Over time, the damage is not one wrong answer. It's erosion of a shared baseline. People become less certain what is evidence, what is inference, and what is pure inventics. 30.40. The digital ghosts in images and video. Text hallucinations persuade because language can imitate authority. Image and video hallucinations persuade because vision feels direct. With images, the model is not reading in the human way. It's generating pixels that match the visual patterns of letters. That's why generated text on signs often looks like near language. It has the texture of writing but breaks under inspection. Hands and anatomy are another common failure. Hands require consistent structure across many small details. If the model's generation process prioritizes global plausibility over local anatomical constraints, you get extra fingers, merged joints, or impossible poses. Video adds a continuity problem. Each frame must agree with the next. Without strong constraints, small inconsistencies accumulate. Logos mutate, jewelry shifts, facial features drift, objects morph. The result can be real enough for a fast scroll but unreliable as a record. The underlying theme stays consistent. Generative systems create plausible artifacts of reality. They do not guarantee the underlying reality. If hallucinations are structural, mitigation must be structural. Grounding with retrieval. Retrieval augmented generation connects a model to external documents at query time. Instead of guessing, the system searches a knowledge base and then generates a response anchored to retrieved text. This reduces hallucinations when the retrieval is good and the system is designed to quote and attribute correctly. Forced citation and attribution constraints. Systems can require that factual claims be tied to citations from retrieved sources. If the model can't cite, it should not assert. This shifts the default behavior from complete the story to show you're evident. Tool use for precise operations. For math, use calculators. For dates, use parsers. For databases, use queries. When the model is asked to do a tool's job in plain text, hallucinations rise. When the model is routed into tools, accuracy improves. Verification layers. You don't rely on one generative pass for high-stakes work. You add validators, cross-checkers, fact verifiers, consistency checks, second-pass critique, or rule-based constraints. The goal is not make the model perfect. The goal is make errors detectable before they leave the system. 5. Calibration and refusal. A trustworthy system must be allowed to say, "I don't know," and to give partial answers with clear uncertainty. In real deployments, this is a product decision. You must value truthfulness over smoothness.
Domain-specific tuning and guarded templates. In specialized fields, tightly scoped templates reduce drift. For example, requiring the model to answer in a structure that includes assumptions, source, and confidence can reduce silent invention.
No mitigation eliminates hallucinations completely. The target is reduction, containment, and detectability. Now the most practical part. If you use AI daily, there are a few rules that cut risk immediately. Treat confidence as decoration. A model's confidence tone is not a measurement of truth. It's a style, rule. Verify anything that can cause harm or major cost. Medical, legal, financial, safety instructions, and irreversible decisions must be verified against primary sources. Ask for sources, then check them. If it gives citations, confirm they exist and say what the model claims they say. Hallucinations often fail at the source layer. Watch for too perfect specificity. Exact numbers, dates, and names are frequent hallucination targets. If the answer has many precise details, verification becomes more important, not less. Rule 5. Separate summary from invention. Summaries grounded in provided text are safer than free-form "tell me everything about X" prompts. If you give the model the source material, it can anchor. If you don't, it may improvise. Use AI as a draft engine, not a citation engine. Draft the narrative, then replace key claims with verified references. These rules sound simple, but they work because they align with the root cause. The system generates plausible continuations unless you force grounding. AI hallucinations are not spooky edge cases. They are predictable outcomes of systems optimized for fluent generation. The risk is not that AI can create fiction. The risk is that fiction arrives formatted like fact, and people accept it because it sounds clean. If this breakdown was useful, like the video, subscribe, and share it with someone who uses AI for work or school.